Today we welcome Rosetta bassist and New Miserable Experience frontman David Grossman to the podcast. New Miserable Experience will release Gild The Lily next Friday, January 23rd on Pelagic Records. David talks about the journey of musical discovery and the importance of teachers and record stores, the hubris of youth and Rosetta's The Galilean satellites, embracing darkness with Gild The Lily, the possibility of New Miserable Experience being a live band, and a lot more. New Miserable Experience can take you by surprise if you see a band featuring members of Rosetta, Revocation, and Rivers of Nihil, but Gild The Lily is an exceptional dark synth rock record and worth checking out. Thanks much for listening to this episode of As the Story Grows. If this is your first time checking out the podcast, welcome. You can find links in our show notes or at asthestorygrows.com for our mailing list, our Discord server, and our Patreon page, where $1 a month gets you early access to every episode. And if you like what you hear, I would love it if you subscribed to the podcast on your podcast platform of choice. Enjoyed today's conversation with David Grossman of New Miserable Experience.
Nostalgia pulls us in, toxic familiarity, easy to forgo. What's best for us? Never we know.
How you doing today?
Pretty good. I mean, I ran just from work and hopped on this, but work is fun, so I have nothing to complain about.
That's good. That's cool.
Yeah, I teach Brazilian jiu-jitsu, so
That's fun.
I was just playing for a few hours, and
Nice.
now I'm doing this. How's your day?
Throw some people across the room. It's good. It's good. It's not like
Nice.
cold and miserable, so that's always
Yeah,
pleasant, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Are you in Philadelphia proper? Or are you out like in the burbs now?
I'm in the burbs, so I'm
Okay.
like, I don't know how familiar with the area are you?
I used to live in Fishtown.
Oh yes, I'm in Lower Merion. I live in a little town in Lower Merion called Narberth.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's like my obligation. I mean, I get it. I say I'm from DC. I'm from the suburbs, but
Yeah.
you have to have that linchpin for people who are like, yeah, I know that city. like,
Yeah.
Not Lower Merion, right?
So right now, and one member of New Miserable Experience technically still lives in Philadelphia, but
Nice.
everybody else is spread out around the suburbs, except for Brett, who lives in Virginia. So
Yeah. Nice.
yeah.
Nice. Did you grow up in that area?
Yeah. So I actually first was in West Philadelphia when I
Okay.
was younger, and then my parents moved out this way probably when I was like 11.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
Nice.
obviously kicked it around the Philadelphia area in different neighborhoods. I went to college at Drexel, so obviously kind of headed back down to West Philadelphia at one point. But yeah, I've been
Nice.
around the area.
That's cool. What was growing up like?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. How old are you?
I'm 41.
Yeah, so we're roughly the same age, man.
Yeah.
So, I'm 42. So,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that growing up was bad, but we grew up in an interesting era, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, well, there's all the damage that Reagan did, which
Right.
is a deep conversation. But like there's that, but also like we were like kind of in this weird time frame with masculinity stuff, I think.
Mhm.
So I've had this conversation a bunch, obviously. We kind of come from a generation where like when we were younger, it was really frowned upon for boys or men to show any emotions.
Yeah.
Right. And then as we got older, it started to become acceptable.
Mhm.
So we kind of were in like this weird thing when we were coming in age where we were kind of like stuck between that stuff,
Yeah.
which I think led to some weird things that I feel like most of the people in my life, including me, have done a good job of working through,
Yeah.
but definitely led to some weird issues, coming of age. And then also lots of the internet stuff, right? So we're like, had a lot of pre-internet stuff. And then we kind of got the internet and the phones when we were starting to again come of age. Like, I mean, definitely had the internet when I was in high school. I know
Right.
that.
Right.
I don't think I got a cell phone until I was in college, but like maybe like freshman or sophomore year.
Yeah.
So it was pretty early on. But I knew people that had cell phones, right? So yeah, or it's like even, like we went from having to buy our music to all of a sudden having the option to just illegally download it. Right?
Lars got mad at us. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Like it's just, I don't know. Like so, I mean, yeah, I guess in the grand scheme of things, there was nothing necessarily to complain about, but it was an interesting time. I'm also like, I'm a multiracial kid. Well, now obviously an adult, but like that had a lot of weird impacts on me too. Cause like, kind of like when I was living in West Philadelphia, it was kind of like, oh, you're not really black. Yeah. And then when I moved to the suburbs, oh, you're not really white. And I'm like, what is going on? Like sort of thing. So that definitely led to some things. But like, yeah, I mean, for the most part, I got nothing to complain about. Yeah.
Yeah. That racial gatekeeping, that like, another thing we've had to reckon with. Right?
Yeah.
It's so fun. What then kind of gets you into music along this trajectory? Is it at radio, internet, friends?
So, I mean, I came from a house where music was always playing. Okay. So, I mean, like, I never, like, I don't have any memories where my parents weren't playing music. So, like, my mom was real into, like, Joni Mitchell, the Beatles, James Taylor. I just remember that always being on when she would play music. And then my dad, he was really into, like, blues stuff. Nice. So I remember always, like, John Lee Hooker, who's another one he listened to, Muddy Waters, like just that. So that stuff was always on. He played guitar. My uncle worked for the Philadelphia Orchestra as the head librarian. Okay.
That's nice.
So it was just like, it's just like, I always remember music being on and like things related to music. And yeah, just like, you know, instruments being around and stuff like that. I took piano lessons when I was younger. And then, yeah, I think it's roughly around like 12 is when I started getting into like my own things. But I remember even before that, like I used to sneak down early to put on VH1 and MTV when my parents were asleep to just like sneak in and listen to music, you know,
right.
Stuff that I was like, you know, maybe not allowed to be watching or listening to. But then, yeah, around like 12, I think 11 or 12, that's where I was like, okay, I got a little bit of money. I'm going to go to Sam Goody for people that remember Sam Goody. And I was like, I'm going to get my things that are interesting. And I think I got, and that initial thing, I definitely got Lives Throwing Copper. And I think I got Alice in Chains Facelift. And that's the album that really caught me. Yeah. So like Alice in Chains is like, Alice in Chains and Jeff Buckley are like, for my own personal musical tastes, like two of the most important musical acts for me. Like, okay. But yeah, at that age, I definitely got Facelift, Throwing Copper, and I might have gotten like the first Bush album or something like that, and maybe Smashing Pumpkins' Siamese Dreams. Like I know those are all early albums that I got for sure.
Nice.
You know, and then it just kind of took off from there, where it was like, okay. Then I went through a phase where it was like, got to listen to stuff that's heavier than this, and that's where you start getting like into like Pantera, and then next you know you're listening to Megadeth, and then next you know somebody's like, hey, have you heard this band Earth Crisis? And then yeah, it just took off from there.
It explodes, yeah.
Oh yeah, and then like it came back probably around when I was 15 or 16. I had this really cool teacher, and he was like, I know you only listen to this heavy music. I'll lend you a couple heavy music albums, but I'm going to lend you something different. And this was actually, there's a long story to this. Essentially, I wasn't doing my homework. But like, so this guy, he was really cool. He was like a 22-year-old fresh out of college teacher. Yeah. First job was teaching, replacing this teacher that I had that got sick. So he was giving interesting readings. So I do the readings, but I wouldn't do the homework.
Yeah.
And I would engage in the conversations with him, but not turn in the homework. And he's the reason why I went to college. Nice. And he's the reason why I started listening to different music. He was like, so here's a couple heavy music things to listen to, but here's Prince's Purple Rain. Just give it a try. And then I was like, oh, okay, I can listen to anything.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll put the solo in Purple Rain up against any heavy metal, like wankery, like, right? Like,
yeah.
Right, that's your rocks, right? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. How connected were you to the Philadelphia music scene, and what was it like when you were in high school? I know it was like pop. I mean, I feel like every music scene has its ebbs and flows. And
yeah, so like, I'll say this. So Matt, BJ, and I all kind of grew up together in the same little suburban area when we were in like high school age.
Okay.
Matt was definitely, and obviously these are the other two guys in Rosetta, if I didn't say that, but, like, we did not know Mike at the time, who's the vocalist, and we're the four original members of Rosetta. Eric joined later. Matt was the one going downtown most to check things out, but it was good because we had R5 Productions, and they used to do these shows at all sorts of places, lots of DIY venues. We had the First Unitarian Church, which is still to this day one of the coolest venues that exists in the world. Yeah, so we were just always getting cool, interesting stuff. We had a bunch of cool, interesting bands. There was a cool suburban scene out in like Bensalem, Lansdale, which is where like bands like A Life Once Lost, The Minor Times, Circa Survive. Trying to think who else is from that scene. This Day Forward. Yeah, so we just have like a ton of really awesome, like kind of like underground, kind of like metal, hardcore, punk rock sort of stuff going on. Yeah, so like, I mean, we were definitely, all of us were going to shows. Like there was always cool shows to go see. Yeah. Sometimes in some not so nice neighborhoods. But yeah, like, I mean, Matt was definitely like the one in the band who was doing that the most. BJ and I were definitely going to shows too, and getting to experience that. But yeah, and I mean, I mean, that's the thing, was like, now I think things are a little more interesting, I think, and have been, because it became easier to kind of do DIY touring because of the internet. Yeah. But like back when probably you and I were growing up and younger, like if you lived in one of these major cities, that's where lots of these weird bands would come through and play, and you get to experience these sort of things. And it was kind of like, you know, revolutionary. Yeah. 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 That experience of like, if you knew the headliner, you probably knew none of the openers, and like you couldn't preview any of their music. You're going in blind and just like experiencing it for the first time. Yeah. It's very different. Yeah, you see like these bands that just, you're like, what the heck did I just witness? Like, man, there's this band that we talk about all the time that we're on Hydra. They were called like Canute or something like that. Oh yeah. And they were playing, I might've been the Rotunda, and I forget, might've been on tour with Cave-In, might've been an ISIS show back in the day, but it's like, yeah, you had no idea what you were going to hear or what you were going to say. And then you're like, whoa, this band is cool. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, special. And yeah, I mean, again, I'm sure that stuff happens to people still now, obviously I'm older. So like, I'm not going to shows like I used to, but like, yeah, back in the day, man, you would just go to these shows and it would be incredible. You'd hear a band that you never heard before. You'd be blown away. And then next thing you know, you're buying their CD or their vinyl and you're taking it home with you. And yeah, that's why you end up with these asinine collections where you're like, hey mom, can you hold on to these 3,000 CDs I have? Because I don't have space for them right now. Yeah. But there was definitely a point where my mom gave me all my old cassette tapes, and I was like, I don't know why you kept these, but I'm grateful, and I will gladly take them back now. So like, I was just at my mom's recently just to comb through for some old CDs, and I was like, thank God she held on to all these things. Yeah. Because I'm like, she could have just thrown them away. I was like, I don't know how long ago, I was like, hey, I just don't have space for this. Can you just keep all these for right now? I'm just going to take these few that I want to listen to more regularly. And then it's like 10 years go by and I'm like, oh yeah, like, do you still have all those CDs in your basement? Yeah. You're like coming through, oh, I forgot about this band or that band. Before we talk about New Miserable Experience, I want to talk about the Galilean satellites. I mean, Rosetta, as a musician, has always been into, abstract, outside the box music. What was the conversation around creating this record that was 2 companion discs, like, to be listened to together? I think some of it was honestly like drugs. No, we were all essentially, at that point, we were all, I think, straight edge, except for maybe me, who drank occasionally. Yeah, BJ, Matt, and Armand were all straight edge, definitely. I might have just started drinking a little bit at that point. But Yeah, I mean, I think some of it was youthful ignorance,
Okay.
where you're just like, well, we can do anything, so why not just do this thing?
Yeah.
And I mean, I think the idea originally came from something that Neurosis did with Tribes of Nerat.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the inspiration. And then we obviously knew the Flaming Lips had done something similar. So those ideas were kind of running through our head. But there was also there was kind of this aspect of the band where Armine was doing these, so we call Mike Armine, which is his last name. So for anybody who's listening to this, every time I say Armine, that's what we call Mike within the band. So Armine was, he was doing all these samples and like noise stuff. And that was a part of our sound. So it was just kind of like, well, if we're going to do a companion disc, it makes sense to sort of showcase that more. And then we just kind of put it together. Like it just kind of happened. I mean, I think some of it's just like youthful ignorance more than anything. You're just like, when you're younger, you just do things and there's no thought process, right? Like you're just like, I'm just going to do this thing because I feel like doing this thing. And there's no anxiety about it or anything. You're just like, we're doing this. Yeah. And then you just kind of just made it happen.
Was there pushback from the label being like, what the fuck? Or was they're like, whatever? Because that's like, I don't know, end of the CD era, right? Like closing in on the end of the CD era, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I remember Christian and Drew, who own Translation Lost, being very much into the idea. Okay. But like those guys have always, they've always been pretty open to anything. Yeah. Obviously, I've worked with them on a bunch of Rosetta releases, and then they put out 2 of the new Miserable Experience releases before this one that's about to come out on Pelagic. Yeah, they've always just been very open to everything. Like,
nice.
Yeah, so like there was no pushback. They were into the idea. I mean, and it just kind of happened. The vinyl version that they put out, which is like the 4 LPs, like when we originally released it, it was just going to be a CD, and we were hoping that somebody would put it out on vinyl, which happened early on, but it was like, man, this is so long ago. I don't even know if I remember correctly. I think one label might have done like the first disc, and then a different label did the second disc on the initial pressings.
Well, and then there was the combined version, right? Like,
yes. So there was a bunch. Like, I actually think, and again, it's been a while, and I have it. I have the record somewhere, but I think that actually one of those initial versions, actually the bass player from Year of No Light put out on his label. Okay, which is how our relationship started with those guys back in like 2006 or 7 or something like that.
Nice. That's right.
Yeah. But I mean, I mean, you have these grand ideas, and you're just like, there's no fear about creating when you're young. You're just like, let's make it happen. And then you just make it happen. Yeah.
Nice.
It's kind of special, right? Like, there's a lot of, I don't know if chasing is the right word, but like, it's not necessarily about chasing the sound, but there's some of chasing the magic of what happened when you're like, just like, hey, I can do anything. There's no fear. There's no anxiety. There's no like, hey, can I recreate songs that are as good as this or whatever? Yeah. It's just, there's like something special about that.
Yeah. And as your first record, it's just like, the world is your oyster, right? You got forever to make it. You could do whatever. And like, you don't have anybody telling you this is bad. I
mean, that's something.
Or great, right? Whatever, right? Bad or great, whatever. Let's talk about New Miserable Experience. At what point do you kind of shift into the space of I want to do something new, different, or even just like I want to do electronic music?
So this is kind of like it just happened because COVID, honestly, as initially, because COVID, there was just, so I teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so I was essentially not working. So I had a lot of extra free time. And then Rosetta had started writing some new songs, but then that got put on hold because of COVID as well, right? So it was kind of like, well, what am I going to do? Rosetta is not a file trade band. We're a get in a room and play with each other band.
Yeah.
So like, it just wasn't going to work. And so I had done a like kind of like Dillinger Escape Plan-esque record with my friend Josh, who's in New Miserable Experience with me, that Translation Loss had put out back in like maybe 2010. And that was called Hycosin. And it's like, yeah, so it's like Dillinger Escape Plan-esque. And I've been friends with him forever. He actually was in a pre-Rosetta band with Armine called Mikado that was also on Translation Loss. Yeah, so we've known each other for forever. And I was just like, we've always talked about doing another project. So it was just kind of like, hey, we're locked in COVID, so let's do this. And then we asked a bunch of people, and none of those people really, they were either interested but then didn't do anything, or they just were like, not right now. Because again, everybody was a mess during COVID. And then we sort of settled on, well, I shouldn't say settled, but we were like, let's ask BJ. BJ makes sense, who's in Rosetta with me. And then we asked Brett, who's one of my longest time friends, who at the time was in revocation. But because of COVID, it was one of the rare times where he was home.
Yeah.
So like it kind of just like it started lining up for this to just kind of come together. And then the sound just kind of happened. Like we didn't actually know what we were going to originally do, because like, I mean, again, we all come from doing heavy music.
Yeah.
And it just kind of was like, okay, Josh was like, I have all these musical ideas, and he kind of played it. And I was like, okay, well, lots of these things are not heavy music. So I was like, let's just start going from there and building from that. And it just kind of happened organically. And yeah, that's kind of how it kind of came together.
It is. When I first heard the new single, the first single from the new record, and it's like members of Rosetta, Revocation, Rivers of Nile, you're like, oh shit. And you hit play and you're like, the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I was very much like, okay, I have to come back to this later when my head is adjusted to like not like those bands.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So, and then Brody joined obviously later from Rivers of Nile. So he's not on our first EP, but he had a relationship with Brett, and I had interacted with him some on the internet because he was a fan of Rosetta. I think he saw us. We played like a show at the First Unitarian Church where it was Deaf Heaven, Rosetta, Russian Circles at the First Unitarian Church, which right now it's probably, people would be like, holy shit, what a lineup. The show was well attended, but not how it would be now.
Right.
He saw us, and then like, we didn't interact, but he liked, obviously, and that was his introduction to Rosetta, and he liked us, and he loves Deaf Heaven, and he loves Russian Circles. And I literally think Brett was on tour with Revocation, did a tour with Rivers of Nile, and Rosetta had done a tour in China, and it happened to end in Philadelphia. So I had just gotten back from China. Brett's in town. He's one of my best friends. So Brett and I get together with Josh, who's also a New Miserable Experience. And at the time, John, who was the second guitar player of Rivers of Nile. And we're just hanging out, and something happens where Brody gets brought up because Brody wanted to be hanging out with us, but he wasn't. And then sort of started like this kind of like internet kind of relationship a little bit, but He liked the first EP. So then we were like, well, do you want to, write some songs with us? And kind of just came from there. But yeah, I mean, it's obviously, it's not a heavy project. It sounds more like Depeche Mode. And well, have you heard the whole record yet?
I have. Yeah.
So yeah, even not every song sounds sonically the same, right? We're a little all over the place.
No, and especially the later you get into the record, there's some more rock elements and moments where it like drifts, and you're like, okay, it's a fascinating landscape. And this kind of leads into where I was going. There's this great quote in the press release from you that after the last album, you started saying infinite sadness is like the inspiration for this record. So it was interesting to go back to the EP and the last album and be like, oh, they were like a happier, poppier band before. not lyrically. Lyrically, it is still like oppressive is not the right word, but heavy topics. But like musically, it's a much lighter feel than when you put on the new record and The Devil We Know comes on, right? Or Payback for God.
Yeah.
It's a different vibe. What was it? that led you to, I don't know, sadness or a darker sound this time around? Was it just the demos? Is it everything happening in our world?
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of things. I mean, I think there was a lot of stuff going on in all of our personal lives, which I'm not going to really talk about anybody else's personal life, but my personal life was like really an upheaval right when we first started writing these set of songs. And then like, the world is falling apart, it feels like. So yeah, it was just like everything. So like, I mean, like Payback from God, for example, I was reading a book that's essentially, I actually have the book right here in front of me, strangely enough. One day everyone will have always been against this. And it's essentially, the author's, he says himself, it's like his breakup letter with, the United States, more or less, because of the handling of what's going on in Palestine. And I like instantly right away was like, oh my God, like, and a song was born out of that, and that's Payback from God, right off the bat. So just heavy topics like that, Ordinary People and Running the Fear of It Dry were literally like me being like, why are people like praising these billionaires and acting like they're like the rest of us when they're doing all these terrible things all the time? So it was like world and my personal life, everything just felt really heavy. Like I'm sure you maybe noticed that like I talk about drowning a lot.
Yeah.
like in the songs. So I actually don't know how to swim. Okay. I don't know how to swim. So like drowning is like a heavy thing for me. It's like one of my two fears. Yeah. Because I don't know how to swim. So it's like, I was just not in a good headspace. So like it just like came out really lyrically, like really, really kind of like sad and depressing. Yeah. And I think, some of the other guys were in some of the same headspace. So it just led to like a really like kind of like dark, depressing album. Yeah.
Yeah. Who did the album artwork?
So Toby Verhines, I might be butchering his last name. So we had worked with him on Absent Lovers, and he's a great artist. He's really, really good at kind of doing like this, like kind of like really dark, moody type of artwork. Yeah. The layout's incredible. So that relationship actually came from my friend Heath, who used to be in Wolfhammer, that black metal band. Yeah. So he moved to the area during COVID, strangely enough, and I had known him for years, but he had this like kind of like goth industrial project called Lotus Thrones. Okay. And he asked me if I would play bass for him. And I said, yeah, of course. And then actually Josh, who's in New Miserable Experience, played guitar. And then my friend Matt Geary played guitar as well. And Jason Dost, who's from Sunburster and Krieg, he also played drums in that band for the little bit where we were a band, which didn't last long. But Toby did the artwork for some of Heath's stuff, and we were just like, whoa, this is like really moody, cool stuff. He came to a show we played at Philadelphia, like drove up from Maryland or something like that. And we met him. He seemed like a cool guy, and we liked his artwork, and we were exploring some different options, and it just lined up perfectly. So nice. The vibe of the artwork just really fits the vibe of the album. So it's really just works really well.
Nice. You've put a lot of records out on Translation Lost. This one's coming out on Pelagic. How'd that relationship come about? Outside of, you mentioned touring with Robin and the Ocean, like.
So, Rosetta has toured with the Ocean a few times, but I actually think the initial interaction with Robin probably was when Rosetta toured Europe, maybe in 2008 or 2009. He just came to the show. Okay. And, I just remember we were in Berlin. He came to the show, and I remember talking to him at the show. And then every once in a while, paths would cross. Like, I think there was another time we played in Berlin. He came to a show. There was a time where we were both on Ocean and Rosetta and Cult of Luna and some other really sick bands played a festival called Damnation Festival at Leeds University. Talk to him. And then throughout the years, there'd be conversations sometimes where it would be like, hey, Rosetta's doing a split. Do you maybe want to put it out? And then it just kind of never happened. And then eventually we did decide to work with him with some of the Rosetta stuff. So when we were talking about, doing some of this New Miserable Experience stuff, first I went to Translation Loss because I already had the good relationship with those guys. And then it's sort of like Absent Lovers kind of made its way to Robin's hands. And he was like, oh, I like this. I'd be willing to put it out. I was like, oh, Translation Loss is already putting it out, but we don't have a deal with them. So if you want to put out the next one, we'd love to work with you. And he was like, yes. And strangely enough, I literally think like right around when I sent that message, like, I think that him and Brody had just been on tour and together in Australia.
Nice.
So like him and Brody hit it off really quickly and became close friends right away, which isn't surprising to me at all, knowing both those guys. But it just all lined up and came together really quickly. And I mean, it's an incredible label. I mean, he's got one of the best labels out there. I mean, I mean, essentially, if he's putting something out, it's going to be great.
I mean, that's what got me to click on the single. Is like anytime they put out a new video, I'm like, I'm in. Like, especially, I think they had like the best 2025 of any label, like consistently just like knocking out the fucking park.
Yeah. I mean, he's got great taste. Yeah, and that's just what it is. I feel the same way about Translation Loss, obviously, as well. But Robin's taste, it's just like, you just know it. They're like, you can essentially buy those albums blindly. Yeah. Which is, again, it harkens back to when you and I were younger, right? Where it's like, essentially you would be like, hey, if it comes out on Hide Your Head, I know it's going to be good. Right. Yeah. So you'd be like, okay, I'm just going to do this. And like, I mean, like, I don't feel this, sorry to anybody who's listening to this and is offended by what I'm about to say. Like Victory Records, for example, there are things that came out on Victory Records that I liked, but I wouldn't be like, if it's coming out on Victory, I know I'm going to like it. I'd be like, oh, I have to be selective, right? Versus like Hide Your Head, I'm just going to buy it blindly. Doesn't matter. Like, even if I don't, it's not my favorite, I know there's going to be aspects of it that are great because they've got great taste, right? And I feel that Pelagic is that same sort of like modern label where it's just like, the quality is going to be incredible.
Agreed. Yep. Absolutely. Album's out the 23rd of January. Is the plan to try to go on the road as a band, play some shows, or just kind of see what happens? We won't talk about that other band.
So
I know you were not touring with Rosetta, so
yeah. So it's right now it's kind of a maybe. So before the answer was essentially no. We were like, we don't think we're going to play shows, but now it's becoming like we've actually had some conversations. Okay. Some of it things are Brody's touring schedule is insane. So like, I mean, like he just got back from being gone for 6 weeks and he's about to leave for South America in like 2 weeks. And then he comes home and then I think Rivers of Nile is doing a US tour with Catatonia. Yeah. And then I think he's back to Europe. And then I think he's I don't even know. I mean, he's all over the place, but they're road warriors, Yeah. Which, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen them.
No, not yet. I'm hoping to catch them on the Catatonia tour.
So. Yeah, they're as good as they come. And like the saxophone thing with the prog death metal, like, I mean,
it's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like, some of this is going to be based off Brody's schedule, but also like, what songs can we play live and how does it look live? Like we've had this conversations and that's the real question. So first of all, we'd have to revamp some of the songs, but I also think if we chose to play live, we would probably just become like a loud rock band because that's the only thing we know how to do from a live setting. Yeah. Which we've had those, again, we've had some of those conversations, but I would say if you asked me 6 months ago, the answer would be like, there's like a 10% chance for playing shows. And right now the answer is more like there's a 50% chance for them.
All right.
So so we'll see what happens, but I think it's becoming more realistic.
Nice.
yeah, I mean, hopefully everybody enjoys the record. Yeah, I mean, that's all I can really say. I appreciate, you taking the time to do this. I appreciate anybody taking the time to like listen to it because, yeah, I mean, especially in the modern world, everything is like, I don't know, music has kind of almost become disposable to lots of people, sadly. Like, I mean, I know you're going to agree with what I'm about to say because you're obviously somebody who's passionate about music, but like, there used to be, like, you didn't have an option but to sit down and put on a record and absorb it. And that's kind of like not so important anymore. So like to a certain extent, it's more like it means more when somebody chooses to listen to you now.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And because there's just like, it's overwhelming and people are not active listeners like they used to be. Obviously people that are listening to your podcast, they are active listeners. Yeah. I'm sure they are. But like, there's a large bulk of people that aren't. Like, I know this in my own personal experience. There are plenty of times where I bought a record, was disappointed in it in the initial few listens, and then it grew on me later and became like this album that I adore.
Yeah. Or
there was a song that initially I was like, I don't think I like that one. And then like 8 months later, you put the album and you're like, what the heck? Why did I think that song wasn't incredible? Yeah. So, I mean, I just think I appreciate the fact that there's just so much music. So people choosing to spend time with anything I make, I really appreciate. And then there's also just the fact that like, I'm obviously getting a little bit older. So like every release kind of feels like it could be the last one. Mm-hmm. Where like when I was in my 20s, I was just like, I mean, I literally was like, oh, I will never do anything except for play shows and make albums.
Yeah.
Like, there's no other thought process in my mind. And now I'm like, okay, well, when's the last one? Anyone can be the last one.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So it all just feels really special right now. Yeah. So I mean, anybody who bought the album, listens to it, I just appreciate you. And that's all I really want to say.
Nice. You're so right. I just remember there are albums you bought and it's like, I spent $15 on this. I'm going to listen to it until I like it.
Yeah. And I don't know if you ever did this, but this was something I used to love to do. I would just go into the record stores and sometimes just like be like, what looks cool and what has a cool name and just pick it up and just take the chance. Like, I actually sort of regret this decision, but back in the day, there was like a local like record store and I had bought Oasis's What the Story Morning Glory. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to trade it in for something else. So I went to trade it in for something else and they kind of knew what I was interested in. So it became, I traded that for like Danzig 1, which I like whatever the feelings are on Danzig. I have mixed feelings on Danzig, but again, that album at the time for sure meant a lot to me getting it.
Yeah.
And then they're also the same people that introduced me to Massive Attack.
Nice.
They introduced me to Bjork when I was a teenager. Like I would come in and just talk about music with them and they'd be like, just check this out. If you don't like it, you can just bring it back and swap it for another one. Just like, you just have to do it within a couple days.
Yeah.
Yeah. All that stuff was just so important. Like there are still some things like that in places like that. We actually have one in Doylestown, which is not too far from Philadelphia, called Siren Records.
Nice.
That's like a store like that. And they hold shows there sometimes and stuff like that. But like, yeah, I mean, that's not as much of a thing as it used to be. And I just feel like all that stuff is so special.